Well, hello, boys and girls. How are you? This is, of course, Mr. Broussard, and we are going to be doing math today. Do you hear something there that is not supposed to go there? Of course. We're not going to be doing math. We're going to be doing science, of course. It's what we always do together, science. So, last time we started talking about waves, water waves, and sound waves, and light waves. And we got an idea of how water and sound and light travels, right? And how they travel in waves. But we don't really know exactly how it works. So today we're going to dig deeper into waves. What are they? What is the definition of a wave? And what are its components? What are its properties? What are the properties of a wave? So that when anybody asks you what a wave is, you will be able to quickly answer clearly and explain what a wave is. Yes? Are we ready? Let's get started. Let's look at our learning target. So I can explain and describe, okay, what a wave is, and we can also identify its different properties. Okay? So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain and describe what a wave is and identify its different properties. All right? Anybody can ask you and you will be able to explain and describe. All right? So this is a wave, okay? That's a wave. So what I want you to do is I want you to pretend, okay, that a kindergartner, a little kid, a little boy, little girl, ask you a question, okay? And they said, hey, what is a wave? You are a fourth grader, and I'm sure you can explain to me what a wave is, okay? What would you tell this kid? You have to do it with words that this child can understand. They have to be simple words. So what would you say to this child that a wave is? So think about that for a moment. What is a wave? Would you be able to explain it? Well, that's exactly what I want you to do. I want you to take about 6 or 7 minutes, and in your notebooks, I want you to explain, pretend that you are explaining to a kindergartner, okay, to a little kid, what a wave is. Just like if a kid would ask you, what is a flower? Well, you would have to say, well, it is an object that is colorful. It can be yellow or red, and it has different petals around it. But what is a petal? Oh, well, it's like an oval. It's like an oval piece of. You see how difficult it is to explain something? I mean, of course you know what a flower is, but when somebody asks you to explain what it is, you might have a little problem. So think about what a wave is. So look at this picture of a wave. What is a wave? And now in your notebooks, write an explanation of what a wave is. So pause the lesson and write. So what do you write down? What is a wave? I hope you didn't say that a wave is when you say goodbye and you wave goodbye to somebody, right? Because you know better now. We're not talking about that type of wave. We're talking about something different. So how would you explain it? What do you write down? I can ask my students, but I won't be able to ask you. So I'm sure you can tell your teacher what you wrote down, okay? So let's continue exploring that definition of a wave, okay? We're going to go through some words that you might have not heard before or you might have heard, okay? The first word that I want you to take a look at is this one. Disturbance. I've heard this word before, like on TV. When somebody calls the police, there is a disturbance in the neighborhood. Something happened. Disturbance. So when we're talking about waves, we need to know the meaning of this word. And let me show you the definition. When we are talking about science, in science, a disturbance is the interruption of a settled and peaceful condition. So when something is peaceful and quiet and there is an interruption, okay? Like sometimes we're in the classroom and somebody interrupts, or when you were sleeping, somebody interrupts your sleep, or when you're eating, somebody interrupts that state, right? So it's an interruption of a settled and peaceful condition. That is a disturbance. I would like you to write that down in your notebooks. Disturbance is the interruption of a settled and peaceful condition. Please write that down, okay? You can pause the video right here and write that definition. Now, the reason that I want you to know the meaning of the word disturbance is to define a wave. We need to understand that word. We need to understand that disturbance is the interruption of a settled and peaceful condition, okay? So, now we're going to look at the definition of a wave. What is a wave? All right? Let's look at that definition. And now you will see why understanding disturbance was very important. So a wave is a disturbance that travels through space and matter, transferring energy from one place to another. So it is a disturbance. It's when the piece is interrupted, and that travels through space and matter, transferring or moving energy from one place to another. Not moving matter, moving energy from one place to another. So this is a good definition to write down in your notebooks. So go ahead and pause the video right here and write this definition, please. So when you hit a drum with a drumstick, right? That piece is disturbed, right? It's a disturbance. And the sound energy travels from one place to another in waves, transferring that sound energy from one place to another. You know what I'm saying? Or it could also be light. Or it could be the wave in the water. Now I want you to click on this link for a video. It's called Properties of Waves Video. Okay? Because not only do we need to be able to explain what a wave is, but just like a flower has like petals and it has the colors and it has the size, we need to also explain the properties of waves. Okay? So we know what a wave is, but what are some components of a wave? What are the properties of the wave? And this video is going to show us, okay? And there are going to be two words there that are going to be extremely important. So click on this video, watch it, and be looking for these two words. Let me show you what words I'm talking about. When you watch the video, you're going to be looking for these two words: amplitude and wavelength, okay? Amplitude and wavelength. So look for those two and see if you can find a definition on the video for those two words, okay? Those two are properties of waves. So now pause this lesson and watch the video looking for those two words. All right, so were you able to find the definition to those two words? If you didn't, guess what? We are going to read an article, and for sure, you will know what a wave is and what the properties are, and you will definitely know the meaning to those two words. So I want you to click on a link to a website, okay? Let me show you what the name of that website is. So it is this one right here, Physics for Kids, Properties of Waves, Docsters.com. Okay? Click on that and we are going to read it together. Okay? So let's read. It says Physics for Kids, Properties of Waves. There are many properties that scientists use to describe waves. They include amplitude, frequency, period, wavelength, speed, and phase. Each of these properties is described in more detail below. So graphing a wave. When drawing a wave or looking at a wave on a graph, we draw the wave as a snapshot in time. The vertical axis is the amplitude of the wave, while the horizontal axis can be either distance or time. So you right there you see that there is a crest, which is the top of the wave, and then there is a rest position. So let's continue reading. So the amplitude of a wave is a measure of the displacement of the wave from its rest position. The amplitude is shown on that graph. You see the amplitude? It is the measure of the wave from the rest position to the top, to the crest, right? Let's continue. Let's go to where it says wavelength. It says the wavelength of a wave is the distance between two corresponding points on back-to-back cycles of a wave. This can be measured between two crests of a wave or two troughs of a wave. So let's look at that diagram one more time. You see the wavelength is the measure from one crest to another crest, from one top of a wave to another top. That is the wavelength. So did you take notes? Did you write those two definitions? It's extremely important that you do. And now this is what I want you to do next. So you watched the video, we read some of the article, we looked at some definitions. So at the beginning of the lesson, you tried to explain to a kindergartner what a wave was, okay? And you did it with the knowledge that you had. But now you have added more knowledge to your brain. You have added more through the video, through the definitions, through the article. Now you know a lot more. So I want you to do the same thing now. I want you to pause this lesson, and I want you to take about 10 minutes to explain to a kindergartner, okay? So in your notebooks, you write that explanation of what is a wave and what are the properties of a wave. So talk about wavelength and talk about, what was the other word? What was the other word? Wavelength and amplitude. So describe to this kindergartner what a wave is and talk about those two words, okay? In your own words. You need to be able to explain it. You can, if you need to watch the video again, watch the video again. If you need to read the article again, read the article again. Go through the notes that you've taken and now explain to that kindergartner one more time, now that you have more knowledge, what a wave is and its properties. How do you do? How do you do with that explanation? Well, in that explanation, you needed to have quite a few things. You definitely needed to have that a wave is a disturbance when everything is quiet, peaceful, and how energy goes from one place to another, and it travels in a pattern that goes up and down like a squiggly line. Those are things that you need to have written there because the kindergarten needs to understand. He doesn't know big science words like you do. And then you need to tell him that we can measure a wave from the top of a squiggly to the other top of the squiggly. And that is called the, what is that called? You remember what that was called? Don't tell me you don't remember. Yes, the wavelength. And then the amplitude, do you talk about that too? If not, go back. You need to have all of that in your explanation. So our learning target was, I can explain and describe what a wave is and identify its different properties. And that's exactly what we have done, okay? Now for next lesson, guess what? We are going to talk about two different types of waves. I know, who would have known that we have more than one type of waves? We do. So I'll see you next time. Have a great day. And remember, science is everywhere. Look for it. Bye-bye. See you next time.